I mean, look at the people out supporting algae over at the oh
I
my
saw, I
god, the
saw that clip that you're
memorial.
talking about. Genuinely, who gives a? They're two randoms. Who cares? I'm focused on what matters, and what matters is not two random white women standing at
Stream
the
Melody
reflection pool
Melanin
saying,
Kid
"I'm
on
Team
Side
Algae."
K is now
Like, bro, you're
live.
just focused on the wrong
Streaming
thing.
just
No,
chat
I
chat
think
anime
that's what
anime
they're
night
out of their
7
minds.
days
I
in
can't believe they
origin.
did that.
Okay, well, the
Like,
alternative to Trump
what in
wasn't
your
like
mind
one of
would
those
think
white
that?
women who's like, "I'm Team Algae." The alternative to Trump was Kamala Harris. For every white woman that stands at the reflection pool that says, "I'm Team Algae," there's also a Nazi who says, "All black people should die," and I support Trump. So I pick your poison here. I'm gonna pick the Team Algae white woman, dude. Welcome in,
Well,
Parker. How we doing?
I think that's a little
What's
out of
good? What's good?
bounds for
Here, I gotta thank a couple people here real quick, and then I'm actually gonna
oh,
pass
no
the mic
problem.
to Parker, and he's gonna hear you out while I use the restroom.
I think that he's trying to get things straightened out and exposing some of the things that's going on that a lot of Americans are aware of, such as, I mean, the California, everything going on in the California. I don't live there, but I don't think that it's fair for the people there, whether they're Democrat, whether they're Republican. Um,
I live in California. What's
they're not
unfair?
for the people over there.
What's unfair?
I'm
I live
sorry.
in California. What's unfair?
What's unfair? So you do know that Karen Bass is under investigation for collecting money for the Palestine fires.
Palisade
And
fires.
it,
Well, one, I'd have to see where that investigation goes, and also that doesn't relate to the entirety of California. That would specifically just be LA City, right? Like
no,
she's the
that's for the
mayor.
politicians. That's for the politicians there. We're talking about. Okay, I know you guys are talking about
Also,
Trump,
yeah. Also, wait. By the way, I have a
but
question. How do you feel about Trump not releasing all of the Epstein files? Because you said that he's been like very transparent. It seems like, right?
he's been the only parent president that has been transparent. Why wasn't Biden transparent? Why wasn't
Can I
Obama
get an answer to the question? Like,
transparent?
why isn't Trump releasing all the Epstein files when he's legally mandated to do so?
I don't know the answer to that. So I would love to be able to answer that, but I don't know the answer. But why? I mean, seriously, can you answer why Biden didn't do it? He
Yes,
didn't
because
even
there needs to
speak
be an
about
Epstein
them.
Files Transparency Act, and because of the fact that there was separation between the Biden administration and the DOJ, which doesn't exist under the Trump administration. Again, because the Trump administration was claiming the Biden administration was weaponizing the DOJ when they actually weren't. Along with the fact that they were sealed up through 2024. So again, an Epstein Files Transparency Act is there. Donald Trump signed it into law, but has tried as much to prevent it prior to that point. Like, and then since that position, Todd Blanche, the person that he put into that position, said he's not releasing millions of more files that exist. Explain to me why Todd Blanche is not releasing millions of more files if it's not protecting people that Donald Trump wants to protect. Because Trump said to Marjorie Taylor Greene that his friends are going to be hurt if the files were to be released. That's what he said.
So I'm not very familiar with the Todd Blanche thing. Um, with the Epstein files, there are so many things that's going
Dean,
on
don't worry, no one saw
with
that.
but there are so many things that's going on and you know the government right now that it's really hard to focus on one thing, and it almost makes me wonder if all this stuff is being shaken to kind of like covert certain things and hide certain things.
Oh, like
um
almost like flooding the zone,
Flooding the zone.
like Steve Bannon said Trump would do. Steve Bannon, one of Donald Trump's former political advisors.
Can you please explain to me what flooding the zone is?
How about this? Instead of describing to you what it means to flood the zone, let's just get a coherent argument. What's one good thing Trump has done since the start of his second administration that makes you think he's a good president?
Well, he is no more men and women sports.
Okay, so he
I think.
prevented 17 trans women from competing in the NCAA. Wow. You know, he's been found
Oh,
guilty of twice as many felonies, accused of rape by twice as many women. And there was 1 million children for every trans woman banned from competing in the NCAA that Donald Trump made starve by refusing to provide food stamps to during the last 12 days of the government shutdown.
Of the
And
food
for every
stamps.
trans woman that he banned from competing in the NCAA, he killed 4 Iranian schoolgirls with a missile strike in his war of choice.
Wait, was
For
you
every
said
trans woman that he banned from competing in the NCAA, he took health care away from 1 million U.S. citizens with the big, beautiful bill. Why are we concerned with 17 trans women in the NCAA compared to everything else that I just said? I think the reason why the GOP's approval rating has gone on a sharp decline, and Donald Trump now possesses the lowest approval rating out of any president in American history at this point in his term, is you think his wins are these random miscellaneous executive orders that only apply to 17 people. Meanwhile, he's destroying a nation of 340 million and starting war with nations of millions as well, threatening to genocide 90 with his war in Iran.
Now, I think that he is starting to see the other hand of that. I think even in the Bible, it does say that there will be a war between Iran and Israel is going to fall. And I do think that that's going to happen in the end. But as for the 17 you're saying, the 17 trans
What?
You're
Wait,
going from
wait.
subject to subject. I'd like to
Wait,
go
you think
back
that
to the
Trump's
ones of the
you think that
17.
Trump's war in Iran it was prophesized in the Bible?
Oh, do you know the Bible?
That wasn't an answer to my question. My question was, do you think that Trump's war in Iran today was prophesized by the Bible?
I'm not saying that Trump is prophesized in the Bible. He is not biblical.
The war that he
But
started
the war
with Israel.
between Iran and Israel is biblical.
Can you show that to me?
We were talking about something before, and I would like to make a point.
The
about a
Bible knew about
second ago.
like
Can
ICBMs, like nukes and like missiles and shit. That's crazy.
So you're saying that he stopped 17 trans people from going into sports? Well, if he didn't stop them, how many do you think that it would have been? It would have It would have gone way beyond 17.
Yeah,
Stopping
considering
it, that doesn't mean that there was only going to be 17.
Yeah, listen, here's what I have to say. I ultimately think that trans women competing in the NCAA is completely irrelevant to federal politics.
Shouldn't be in politics, period, but it
0.00168%
was.
of NCAA athletes are trans. And only a very small percentage of the 0.00168% of NCAA athletes who are trans have even won an award, have set a new record, have won a prize, have gotten a scholarship. Like, seriously, I just don't think that the trade-off benefit here for you makes sense. Are you willing to say that you will accept banning one trans athlete from the NCAA, but for every trans athlete that is banned from the NCAA, it costs the healthcare of 1 million U.S. citizens? It costs the lives of 8 Iranian girls. It costs the starvation of 1 million American children during the last 12 days of the government shutdown. Because, once again, for every, in the same way that he restricted 17 trans women's access to competition in the NCAA, he took healthcare away from 17 low-income Americans with a big, beautiful bill. Killed 168 girls in Iran. Refused to provide food stamp benefits to 17 million starving children.
Dean, when I was younger and I was in high school, transgender wasn't necessarily a thing. There were some.
Just because you don't know about it doesn't mean that it isn't a thing.
Gay
but you're still not responding to my point here. Bro, you're so fucking obsessed with trans people. Can you actually respond to the point that I'm making?
It is today.
Can you actually respond to the point that I'm making?
It is pushed into it. It's pushed in through it through the policies. It's pushed into our whole society.
Okay,
it's pushed onto
so you'd
us.
rather have our society pushed in a direction where we're accepting rapists and pedophiles in position of power compared to our society being pushed into a direction where we're accepting trans people into society. That's fucking sad.
Are you calling trans people and gay people rapists?
No, I'm calling you out for supporting a notion where we're pushing society into a direction where we're more supporting of rapists and pedophiles in position of power than pushing society in a direction where we're more supporting of trans people in society.
No, I wouldn't support that. I live in the state of Florida, and
well, that's the route that you decided. That's the route that you decided. Instead of saying, "Oh, I don't like the Democrats because,"
they get the death penalty.
Listen, that's the direction that you want society to be pushed in because you don't like the Democrats. You're saying that, you never support the Democrats because they want gay people to be socially accepted. They want trans people to be socially accepted. They want people with non-conforming gender identities or sexual orientations that fall outside of the hetero-cis norm to be socially accepted. But I don't want that. Because that's like really bad. So instead, I'm going to align myself with a team who's pushing the normalization of pedophilia into the mainstream by acting as if the Epstein files don't fucking matter, just this big hoax. And now we are explicitly listening to the head of the DOJ alongside Trump with the rest of his administration arguing that they just don't really care about them too much and they're just not going to release them because they want to protect these predators. Oh, now we hear arguments from MAGA men every single day that maybe it doesn't matter that men barge into women's dressing rooms to perv on the naked bodies of women and girls because Trump did that and he boasted about it. Now they have to defend him because he's their president. Now we hear arguments every single day that we should never believe rape victims because now we have MAGA men and probably MAGA women such as yourself that discount the testimony of one rape victim, E. Jean Carroll, even after she proved it in court to unanimous jury of 9, won the first appeal, won the second appeal, won the third appeal, won the fourth appeal, and now has won the fifth appeal because even the Supreme Court is willing to reject the verdict formed by that jury. And these conditions are obviously much worse for society, than conditions in which we're adopting and accepting of trans people, lesbian, gay people, and queer people. Like, no fucking shit. Yeah. That's actually a good thing. The fact that I have to compare that to what the Trump administration is doing with the social acceptance of pedophilia, of rape, of predation is kind of insane from the get-go.
Okay, so I listened to what you had to say. Can I speak now?
Yeah, but just watch this
Okay.
guest make it all about trans people. She didn't address the point about healthcare. She didn't address the point about the war in Iran. She didn't address the point about food stamps. She didn't address the point about the economy at large. And now she's not going to address a single point that I made. She's only going to make it about trans people. Go for it.
So, no, Biden is the one that had trans people dancing there at the White House, first of all. Donald Trump is the one who applied, he's the one who enforced the rapid DNA at the border to assure that no men were trying to bring children over the border that didn't belong to them.
Not true.
You can look that up.
Not true.
Okay.
That claim's false.
I'm sorry. No. I want anyone to look that up. That is true. It's the 2017 Act.
What you're wrong about is the word enforced. They didn't enforce DNA testing for adults with children at the southern border.
He made ICE do it. As a matter of fact, ICE is the one that
Are you going to let me
enforced
speak? It wasn't enforced. There was nothing enforced about it. They never made every adult that came with the children across the southern border take a rapid
He
DNA
saved
test.
110,000 children.
That's also not true because the DNA tests were only used by 136 people. How could they have saved 110,000 children with a DNA test that was only used for 136 people per the report from ICE? Per the report from Border Patrol. The fact of the matter is, with the rapid DNA testing, because of the limits of the law and the Constitution, they cannot literally legally force people that they find at the southern border to take this test. They could recommend that they take this test. They could ask that they take this test, but they don't have to take this test. And that's the reason why the Biden-Harris administration never renewed that contract, because this wasn't enforceable, because it wasn't a necessary requirement in order for them to continue. Only 136 people in the last fiscal year of the program ever used the DNA test in the first place.
No, he made it law, and then Biden stopped it. When he got into office, he cut it off.
I thought that I just explained this, how he didn't renew the contract because it was ineffective. And in the fiscal year before the contract... What?
Why wouldn't he renew it?
I just told you. Were you listening?
Why wouldn't he renew it?
And I said, I just told you. Were you listening? I'll try to explain it again. Caveman Dean. DNA test, ineffective. And costs much money. Why DNA test ineffective? Because DNA test not forced. ICE just ask immigrant, DNA test please? Immigrant say no. Then immigrant go on their way. In 1 year prior to contract for rapid DNA test expiring, only 136 immigrants say yes to DNA test. Very little immigrant, but very large cost. Million of dollars.
I'm going to read this verbatim because it is true. He did enforce it. Now, you can't look at these Rolling Stones or anything like that other website. It has to be a government website because this is where you're going to find the truth. And it actually comes back to where a lot of the congressmen actually wrote a letter to Biden. There were 6 signatures at the bottom of this letter asking Biden why he was not going to enforce or to renew this contract with this biometric agency that was doing it, and ICE was enforcing it. They were asking Biden why he wasn't going to renew it. But I mean, that's one thing. Number two, I mean, you want to talk about the pedophilia thing.
So completely move away from the DNA test. By the way, you didn't say anything
that
new
does
there.
have something to do with the pedophilia. It's mainly
okay.
to stop men from trying to act like they're bringing their children in, and you know what they're going to do with the kids.
Yeah, can you
It's
provide
not
me a
right.
source that states that immigrants were by law mandated to take the DNA test?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It
Good.
would take me a second to do it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's see here. To establish a system for integration of rapid DNA instruments for the use of law enforcement to reduce violent crime and reduce the current DNA analysis backlogs. Section 1, short line, this act may be cited
Listen,
as
bro,
the Rapid DNA Act.
I don't want a yap sesh. I just want a source that shows that these are by law legally required.
It is on the congress.gov websites.
Okay, I'm on congress.gov. Where do I go after I go to congress.gov? What should I look up on congress.gov?
Just look up Rapid DNA Act of 2017.
Okay, it's in the bill. Okay. So, yeah, specifically, where in the Rapid DNA Act can I find any evidence that is by law required?
You have to read it.
I know, but I'm asking you where in the bill can I
I
find
mean,
that?
it's not that long. It really isn't that long.
I know, but where in this short bill apparently can I find that? Bro, come on. You had like 5 minutes to find that. I was yapping for like ever about the donos.
I know, but how am I supposed to tell you like exactly where it is? Just look. I mean, you would literally have to read it with me to tell you where it is.
Oh, wait. It's literally like 3 sentences long. What?
It's not 3 sentences long. It's a whole entire act. Dean, I mean, it is what it is.
Okay, where in this bill? Okay, what ones? Maybe I'm just looking at the summary. Yeah, I was just looking at the summary. Okay, that's a 2-page bill. So where on this 1.5-page bill can I find any statement of fact that says that these DNA tests are required by law?
It is enacted by the ICE agents.
It's not what I asked.
Enforced by the ICE agents. Those are
What's
the
a
words
source
you need
for
to look
this?
for.
What's a source that it is by law mandated? It is required for immigrants to take this. They have a legal
Enforced.
requirement,
It's
and
enforced.
that it's not. No, what's
So
enforced? What's enforced would be the bill. What's
It's
enforced would be the DNA test.
enforced when
But what's
they-
not
when
enforced
they-
would be the nature in
First
which
of all,
these
if you
DNA
don't
tests
have
are
ID,
conducted.
There are certain requirements that you would need to meet. If you don't have ID and you cannot prove that the children are yours, you get a DNA test.
Okay,
You
I'm
have to
asking
have
you for
it.
evidence that
We're
DNA
not-
test is legally mandatory. Can you or can you not give me any evidence that DNA test is legally mandatory? Because you
Why
said it
would
was in
they
this
make
bill.
it? Why would
one
they make
second.
it if it
One
wasn't
second. One
enforced?
moment. You said why do cops sometimes ask you to show an ID when you're not legally required to? Because they could still ask you to do that, and in many scenarios, people will still do it. Now
So
you
you're
said that
trying
the
to
evidence.
Yeah,
You
all
said
you
that
do
the
is
evidence was in the
try to
bill.
discredit
You said that the evidence was in the bill. I want you to point me towards the specific evidence that's in the bill. Where is it at? Here's the bill. Show me where in the bill it says that it's legally mandated
That doesn't
for
even look like
immigrants.
the bill that I was seeing.
Holy fucking shit. Then you weren't looking at the bill. Holy fucking shit, dude. This is the Rapid DNA Act of 2017. Going to text
Well, look,
and then
you
reading
found
the
it.
text. So this
You
is
found
the
it.
So are you telling me that you weren't reading the bill?
Yes, I have read the bill.
But you just told me that this doesn't look like what you were looking at.
Yeah, no, the font has changed. Your font is not the same.
Font. This is a PDF. You can't change the font on a PDF. It's basically a picture. It's essentially an image. This isn't like text. Oh my god. This is not like text on a website.
Okay.
It's a PDF.
Well, what are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say that I asked you for a source that demonstrates that these DNA tests are legally mandatory by law for immigrants, and then you said that the evidence can be found within the bill itself. So I've pulled up the bill itself, Public Law 115-50, which is once again the Rapid DNA Act of 2017. Where inside can I find any statement of fact that these DNA tests are legally mandated for immigrants?
Oh, well, you just took it off.
Are you reading it? I thought that you had a computer where you read it already yourself.
No, I was looking at it on yours so that I can say, hey, it's right there on
Oh
your
my god, were
screen
you about to
at, like,
fucking read it in real time when I had it on the middle of the phone screen? Like in real time?
No, because I'm looking on my screen and I was trying to look on your screen at the same time.
Holy
You
fucking
know,
shit,
you're
dude.
too much for me. The fact is that he did it. The fact is that he wrote
Yeah, the fact is that you
a
can't give
rapid
any
DNA
evidence for that.
test
Yeah,
to
bro.
try
Yeah,
and
bro.
protect people.
Yeah, bro. The fact is no
that's
evidence.
it. He arrested
Yeah, bro.
Jeffrey Epstein.
He arrested Jesus Christ, the Colt. The Colts! I'm over, dude. The Colts. I'm gonna start banging my head against this table. The Colts.
Coming up on The Bad Game Show.
Hey, I'm Andrew Santino.
And I'm Bobby Lee. Welcome to the
Bad Game Show. And once again, thank you to Bobby's mom for letting us use the basement.
Yeah, I love you, Oma.
Oma,
Oh, hi. Can you please introduce the guests?
please introduce the guests.
Guest today, Gene Simmons and Oliver Tree. 안녕하세요.
こんばんは、私はジン・シモンズです。
そうですか。
あなたは
私はミラキンです。
見るけど、あなたは美しい。
はい。
どういたしまして。
はじめまして。
そうですね。
はい。
Yeah.
Yeah! Gene.
Gene.
Wait.
She didn't address the point about healthcare. She didn't address the point about the tests. They could ask that they take. Let's go ahead and pass that mic off to Ella. Ella, you left the live so we can't hear you, but if you want to come back to TikTok, the mic and the floor are yours to tell us why you support Trump.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, how about before you hop into your reasons why you support Trump, Matey, thank you for the galaxy. How about you share with us your thoughts on Donald Trump, the president, only being able to get 7 Americans to attend his concert?
You know, I'm grown enough to say that is embarrassing. Like, I agree with you.
Cool, Ella. Why do you support Trump?
So, yesterday we debated abortion. It was like when you were talking about putting a hammer in places. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got clipped. I'm all over TikTok now. But anyways, so I did some more research into it. I got a lot of comments. Some weren't nice, but some were very educational. And although I don't agree with elective abortions, I think I've changed my stance on that to just I would never get one. But the biggest thing with Trump
Hey, I'm happy to hear that you changed your stance. That's why I have you back today. I will very rarely debate somebody 2 days in a row, but you told us that we're actually able to change your mind after the dialogue yesterday. So happy to have you here. Go for it.
Yeah, that's why I'm on here, because I feel like if you can change one thing, like maybe we can talk about the immigration policy. That's mainly the only thing that is making me hang on to voting for Trump. I mean, I could be more educated, though, but that's the biggest thing for me.
Okay, well, let's look at the outcomes of his immigration policy. Can you name one specific, quantifiable, materially positive outcome of his immigration policy over the course of the last year and a half?
I just want to say, like, less illegal immigrants coming into the country.
Dixon, I appreciate you for the galaxy. Well, here's the thing. We've had deportations for a long time, but obviously we still had a lot of undocumented immigrants coming under Biden. So I think that the thing that caused less undocumented immigrants to come into the country is more than just simple deportations. I would argue the reason why there's less undocumented entry today is because Trump has violated the human, natural, and constitutional rights of the undocumented immigrants that are already here. We're pointing towards people like Abrigo Garcia, who are illegally deported to CCOT and
Look, I mean, you would literally have to read it with me to tell you
Oh.
where it is.
that the bill holy.
Okay.
It's a PDF
well,
for immigrants.
I'm looking on my screen and I was trying to look on your screen at the same time.
Holy
You
fucking
know,
shit,
you're
dude.
too much for me. The fact is that he did it. The fact is that he wrote
Yeah, the fact is that you
a
can't give
rapid
any
DNA
evidence for that.
test
Yeah,
to
bro.
try
Yeah,
and
bro.
protect people.
Yeah, bro. The fact is no
that's
evidence.
it. He arrested
Yeah, bro.
Jeffrey Epstein.
He arrested Jesus Christ, the Colt. The Colts! I'm over, dude. The Colts. I'm gonna start banging my head against this table. The Colts. El Salvador, where they were literally tortured and beaten, or the 300 Venezuelan immigrants that were denied access to due process and then also illegally deported to El Salvador, where they were tortured and beaten. Or we could point towards people like Renee Good, Keith Porter, Alex Preddy, who are American citizens killed in the name of their protest for the rights of immigrants. Or we could look at plainclothes ICE agents black bagging naked children and ripping them out of their homes in Chicago suburbs in the middle of the night. See, these rights infringements are the things that I believe have reduced undocumented entry into the country by just simply scaring it away. But I think that the means absolutely do not justify the ends.
Are there more legal immigrants getting deported or more illegal? And do you know like the statistics on that? Like what percent are illegal?
Well, I mean, what I will tell you is that when we're deporting people without due process, like those Venezuelan immigrants that I just mentioned, we have no way of knowing. Second thing I'll tell you here is that Donald Trump tried not just to deport legal immigrants, but natural U.S.-born citizens. With Executive Order number 160, signed into effect his first day in office, he tried to unconstitutionally reclassify birthright citizens born here as undocumented immigrants to be deported from the country.
Okay, see, I don't agree with that. I'm glad that didn't get passed. I think mainly I like his immigration policy because my whole family is MAGA, and I know like I shouldn't be a follower, but I am rarely educated about what the Harris Foundation would have done if she would have became president, what her kind of steps on immigration would be, the process, how she would go about deportation. So, I mean, maybe her policy is better, but I just haven't really looked into that. I've just kind of been told about Trump's, and apparently it's been sugar-coated from what they've told me.
Yeah, well, like, listen, the point of this live stream isn't to convince you that you should have voted for Harris a year and a half ago. That'd be a little bit, like, I don't know, useless because that election is done and said with. So I think that my goal here is to convince you that Donald Trump's policy is bad. The reasons that I've given you about his heinous human rights abuse, his attempt to unconstitutionally reclassify citizens as undocumented immigrants, deporting people with no due process, having them tortured overseas, are these reasons compelling enough to convince you that his immigration policy is bad?
To a point, yes, I do agree with you. My thing is, even if Trump isn't running again, I just want to know the different deportation and illegal immigrant policies from not just Trump and Harris, just the Republicans versus the Democrats, because
Democrats
that's
do
the two main
deportations, but they
parties.
disproportionately focus on undocumented immigrants with bad crimes on their records.
Okay,
20%.
then what about the border?
What about the border? Well, they want to expedite the legal means of entering to this country because they believe the backlog of illegal entry is what has caused a lot of undocumented entry. So they tried to pass a bill to build a shit ton of courts and hire a shit ton of judges to expedite the legal means of entry, while then also granting the president special authority to completely shut the border down when undocumented entry exceeds a particular rolling daily average over the course of a week. That was the policy of the left. The policy of the right, A, they have no policy for the border. And B, the only way that they're reducing undocumented entries by scaring them away, by violating the rights of the undocumented immigrants that are already here. And then C, they want to deport every undocumented immigrant, including the minors, and even some legal immigrants like asylum seekers. Of course, also looking at all of the heinous human rights abuse, as I've already pointed you towards.
So do most of the immigrations and the deportations that Trump does, are those for illegal immigrants, or is it mainly people who haven't committed a violent crime?
only around 3 to 5% of his deportations have been of undocumented immigrants who have committed violent crimes. Below 5%.
And then Harris is against that. She's mainly with like just people who have committed crime.
Yeah, Harris really wanted to focus on the bad undocumented immigrants that actually have committed bad crimes.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I agree with you on that. Like, I agree with that stance. What do you think about, like, illegal immigrants using American, like, resources, like STAT benefits, EBT, like, all that stuff? Do you think that that should be allowed?
They generate American resources. They pay over $100 billion per year in taxes, contribute $1.1 through $1.7 trillion to the GDP annually. They generate American resources. So whenever you point us towards a scenario of them being offered limited benefit to states like food stamps to an extent in Colorado, healthcare to an extent in California, or being able to access emergency rooms funded by the taxpayers, well, guess what? They are the taxpayers, and they fully cover their own bills, plus some additional revenue, and which is then dispersed to citizens. So they're actually a massive economic plus.
So how do they pay taxes if they are here illegally? At like every job I've ever gotten, like they need a social, like everything to prove that you're allowed to work. Like most job applications, you have to check if you're legally allowed to work in the U.S. Do they not check that?
Well, because they do have a legal allowance to work. It's called an ITIN. That's an individual taxpayer identification number. And they can legally work on ITINs because of a work permit program made by Obama. You have Obama to thank for the fact that undocumented immigrants pay over $100 billion in taxes every year.
So if they're allowed to work here, like legally allowed to work here, then wouldn't they technically be a little bit legal?
Nope, they're legally allowed to work here, but if ICE finds them, then they get deported under Trump today.
Okay, and then the immigration policy, I've heard that it takes like 2 to 3 years to immigrate legally. I could
Try
be
10
wrong.
to
I don't
20.
want. I was gonna say I could be wrong. Like I am apparently being fed lies from my family, but I just wanted your input. How, like, do you have a source to back it up of how long the immigration process normally takes?
Yeah, it's around 10 to 20 years on average. And yeah, I mean, you can find information about this all over the internet as it relates to average wait times to complete full citizenship, or you could just talk to anybody who's done it. I mean, any anecdotal story that you hear from a legal immigrant that's legally immigrated into our country in the last 20 years. They'll tell you that it took them around 12 years on average to get their citizenship.
Okay, and then the Harris, did she want to lower that at all? Like,
Yeah, that was the goal of the policy, to hire more judges, to build more courts at the southern border, was to greatly expedite the time that it took to become a citizen.
okay, you know what? I fully think that was the only reason I was still supporting Trump. I need to talk to my family because I don't know what the hell they've been telling me.
Listen, I'm going to give you one last thing. Would you still support Trump if he was a rapist?
No.
Here's the outcome of a civil court that ruled he raped a woman by the name of E. Jean Carroll by forcefully penetrating her vagina with his fingers. If you are curious, I don't know why it's all distorted. My bad. There you go. If you're curious why in the verdict form it says no to rape but yes to sexual abuse, that's because they classified him penetrating her vagina with his fingers as sexual abuse instead of rape, because legally at the time in the state of New York, rape was a penetration of the vagina with a penis.
Okay, I'm gonna say this and then I'll get off. After seeing that, I haven't seen that before, but I don't need any. If that's a legal form, I have, and I'm saying this in front of 20,000 people. I have personally been a victim of sexual abuse. I can't. No, you've completely changed my mind. No, screw Trump. No.
Ella, I'm sorry to hear that happened to you, but I'm really happy to hear that you have a good mind that many people I have conversations with don't. And also, just thank you for being a testament to the ability that we have to actually change people's minds. Okay? Because I feel like so often, the way that these conversations goes, we have somebody up here, we talk to them, we don't change their mind, and then we move on to the next guest. And frankly, Ella, that's what happened with me and you yesterday. But something I've been saying all along is that many people who come up here and debate me need more than like 40 minutes on a live stream to deconstruct their political beliefs. And sometimes it takes a day. It takes a week. It takes a month to really sit there and stew on that cognitive dissonance onset by the original conversation. It looks like it took you around 24 hours from our original conversation. So that's great. I appreciate you for coming up. I'm so happy that we were able to start our live stream on a change the minds of the people. I mean, that's what we want to see, right? So let us do that, please. Hey, Kendra, do you support Trump?
I have a couple of Trump's policies that I support. I don't support him as a person. However, I try to form my own opinion on things, and I come from a very conservative area. So I just want to see if you can change my mind on a couple of his policies that I agree with.
Sure, one moment. Creed, do you support Trump?
Yes, sir.
Creed, how old are you?
20 years old.
What about you, Kendra?
18.
What year are you born in?
2007.
Okay. And if the election was held tomorrow between Trump and Harris, who'd you vote for?
Harris.
All right, we're looking for people that answer Trump to that question. But what's one of
Okay.
the policies of his that you support?
So I am a female in a male-dominated sport. And personally, I was a big fan of the Supreme Court ruling yesterday. I do understand that it's still up to the states to decide.
Yeah. Okay. I'll quickly respond to that. I'll quickly respond to that while we hop into the debate with Creed, since you said you'd vote for Harris. Listen, at the end of the day, I just don't think that the federal government should be concerned with trans women and women's sports, because there's only 17 trans women that compete in the entirety of the NCAA. One of my donors did the math on it a couple weeks ago, and 0.00017% of NCAA athletes are trans. So why is our president concerned with 17 trans women? You know, that's kind of my first question. But, you said that you'd vote for Harris. Welcome in. Do you support Trump? Well, you already told me that you do, Creed. Creed, why don't you take it away and tell us why you support Trump?
Yeah, well, I like what he's doing with ICE. I think he's doing good with that.
Oh, what is he
And,
doing with ICE?
Giving them more power. I think they deserve as much power as,
Do you think
the
that
other
they
agency.
should deserve enough power to be able to execute citizens in broad daylight like they did to Alex Preddy and Keith Porter and Renee Good? Creed, can I get an answer to that question? It'd be great if I could. Could I get an answer to that question?
I don't support any execution, but it matters
Oh,
about
why?
context,
But
right?
that's the power that he's given them.
It
He's
matters
giving
about
ICE
context. I mean,
unlimited power. They're literally executing citizens, murdering citizens. And then the Trump administration was like, oh, we don't care. They're acting in accordance with the DHS guidelines. We're actually going to prohibit the federal Department of Justice from investigating them, and then we're going to use the federal government to block local investigators from investigating them. Take Alex Preddy, who shot in the back 12 times, unarmed, on the ground, on all four. Obviously murdered. Those agents.
Well, I
they're
don't know
walking
the
free.
context, so I can't really answer about that. But I mean, if it was really unarmed and stuff like that, I don't support that.
We got one base
Trump
down.
is
That was easy.
They're not
I mean,
outliers.
I kind of want to go
They're-
for another.
They're not
I
outliers.
feel like they'd be
when they are
expected.
defended
No,
by
they're all
the Trump
flanking that way.
administration.
I
When they're
can't.
defended by the Trump administration
Vote
as a
for it.
whole, that shifts it from being like one bad example, the one rotten apple, to the system as a whole is rotten, because the system as a whole defended what happened.
Okay. I mean, I don't support them defending the people who did that mistakenly, right? But I mean, I
Self-thinking
feel like
galaxy.
I think that he did that to incentivize more people to join ICE, right? Because if you prosecute your own, people.
Okay,
I don't
so
support that though. I'm not.
So
I'm not
you're just
saying I
okay
support
with
that.
ICE agents running around killing people, acting as lawless thugs, and then facing no consequences. So what issue do you take
I
with
just said I
undocumented
didn't support
immigrants?
Sorry.
What issue do you take with undocumented immigrants?
Well, I just think America would be safer without them.
Why?
If I'm being honest. They do a crime, can't link it to
2.5 times
anybody.
less likely to commit violent crimes than you and me as natural U.S.-born citizens.
Yeah, I don't really believe that. If I'm being
Yeah,
honest.
the source is PNAS. PNAS. They've been tracking crime rates.
How
in
can they
America
do that
since
if they don't? How can they do that if they don't document the immigrants?
Because we know how many
Right.
undocumented immigrants there are in America.
Do you really?
Yes. Per Pew Research Center and the Census Bureau, there's approximately 14 million undocumented immigrants in America.
So how do they make this? How do they even gather that?
based on how many undocumented immigrants are in the labor force, how many undocumented immigrants have work permits, how many undocumented immigrants get arrested for crimes, how many undocumented immigrants are, are identified at the southern border, based on how undocumented immigrants are identified and deported by ICE, based upon how many undocumented immigrants are renting, how many undocumented immigrants are paying taxes, how many undocumented immigrants are accessing limited social safety net in 10 over 50 states, how many undocumented immigrants are using emergency rooms in American hospitals across the country, and then just generally how many border crossings there are, how many undocumented immigrants we're able to catch on cameras at the border. I mean, these are very sophisticated yet simple means that the Census Bureau as well as Pew Research Center have used to approximate the fact that there's around 14 million undocumented immigrants in America.
Well, me personally, I think there's more. I don't think you can accurately really get a gauge.
Yeah, sure. Now give me one researcher that says that. Did he leave? he did leave. No, man, that was a good time for him to leave because that was a stupid-ass claim to make because nobody that does statistics, nobody that works with data in the relevant field says that. Like, if he was right, well, then we'd see, like, leading researchers that work in statistics that attempt to identify how many undocumented immigrants there are in America saying that there's just no reliable means that we could use to make that identification. But every single one of them says otherwise, including our own government under both Republican leadership and Democratic leadership. Someone, thank you for the motorcycle. Hey, welcome in. Do you support Trump, Trixie?
Yeah,
Oh,
I do.
Gross. How old are you?
I'm 18.
Oh, dude. What year were you born in?
2007.
Oh, dude. Okay. Yeah. Why do you support the worst president of your life, bro?
I mean, like, well, he does, like, questionable stuff sometimes. It's just, like, this is no, like, how do I say it? Like,
another
I
base
see,
destroyed.
Like,
yeah, they got no more bases. This is going to be easy dub now.
So you think that men are better at
Let's
leading
go.
than women? And why do you think men are better at leading than women?
I don't mean that to be, like, you know...
No, I don't mean I don't mean to be sexist. I don't mean to be misogynistic.
Well, no, I'm genuinely not. It's just like
I'm genuinely not misogynistic, bro. Trust me.
It's just, you know, men are just better at like leading. You know. Like,
Yeah, sure. What's the argument for that?
Just women, they can be emotional sometimes and like making big decisions like that. I mean,
Women are more emotional than men. Okay.
Yeah.
Could I get an argument for that claim?
I mean, it's just normal. Women are just emotional creatures. I don't mean that yet again in like.
Okay, so the argument that women are more
Just
emotional
like-
than men is the claim that women are more emotional than men. So that doesn't give me substance or evidence. That just repeats what you've already said.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that for like a leadership aspect, like when they're trying to like.
But you still haven't given any evidence for that, though.
Well, I don't have like no statistics on that.
Well, doesn't that make you an emotional creature because you're thinking emotionally, not logically, with rational evidence to support your claim?
Well,
You're a man. So you
nah,
actually
I
serve
mean,
as a
like-
data point against the own argument you're making. Hey, listen, as a less emotional man and more rational man than
Well,
you.
I never
how
said
about
I was,
give
like,
how about I give the argument contrary to your position? So your claim is that women are more emotional than men. My claim is men are actually more likely to make decisions based on their emotions than women. My evidence is that men commit 92% of all violent crimes, around 85% of all crimes in general,
I wasn't
including
talking about
violent crimes that
I'm
don't
talking
have a
about, like-
necessity for physical strength like cyberbullying or threats of violence. The reason why I bring up crime rates is because, of course, violent crimes are going to be emotionally driven, not rationally driven. So if women truly were more emotional than men, then why do men commit such a disproportionate amount of violent crimes? And I also think that we just see men engaging in more spontaneous, reckless, emotional thought processes, such as the fact that men are significantly more likely to recklessly drive, significantly more likely to drunk drive, significantly more likely to cause a traffic accident. And then when we look at empirical fields that are true of society that actually do kind of display a higher level of rational abilities, such as education, we see that women outperform men in education on all levels, K through 12, including higher education, better test scores, better grades, better degrees, more degrees, in fact. And of course, we could actually reduce this down to science. So the reason why women have this greater ability to navigate and manage their stress and pain better than men reduces down to the fact that because of childbirth, evolution gave them an advantage to better deal with stress and pain because of thicker dendrites that they have in their brain. And this is also why men are significantly more likely to self-unalive compared to women. Meanwhile, women are just significantly more likely to go to therapy compared to men.
Oh, okay.
And then women also perform better in STEM-related fields. Surgery is a very stressful thing. You have to be able to deal with a lot of stress to be a good surgeon. And I don't know, what does the American Medical Association tell us? Oh, well, they tell us that after conducting a study on 1.4 million patients over 6 continents in 14 years, that if you're operated on by a female compared to a male, you're around 30% less likely to die or to experience any negative postoperative outcomes as a result of your surgery compared to if you're operated on by a man. So in other words, I just gave you like an abstract of a thesis to demonstrate that the claim that men are more emotional than women is pretty likely to be true. Meanwhile, earlier, when you were trying to justify your claim that women are more emotional than men, you actually didn't give me any evidence at all. You just kind of said they are because they
because
are.
I don't really know like the research around it. It's just I'm
If
just
you don't
saying
know the research around it, then how do you know it's true?
25 minutes.
because like it's just
I know,
normal
brother.
thing. Women are more like
I saw that
It's
too.
like a normal
I'm
thing
waiting
to
for that
believe.
too.
Yeah, because we live in a patriarchal society that oppresses
But
women and
it's
uplifts
just
men, and that's the
typically-
way
it's
that it's
just
been by
how it is.
tradition for generations. In the same way,
Yeah.
500 years ago, it was normal to believe that kids couldn't consent to sex and the earth was flat. It certainly didn't make the claims true.
How does kids have anything to do with this stuff?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll definitely tell you what the analogy is.
No,
since you're an
I'm just
emotional
saying-
thinker. You said that, well, your evidence that women are more emotional than men is that it's normal to believe that women are more emotional than men. What does that mean? You're just simply saying that because a lot of people believe it to be true, therefore it is true. I gave you an explanation of why a lot of people believe it to be true, the fact that we live in a patriarchal society and we have for generations. And B, I gave you an analogy how 500 years ago, the vast majority of people were totally okay with child marriage, meaning they thought children could consent, and 90% of humans alive were flat earthers, meaning that if it is true that if most people or a lot of people find something to be true that it is true, well then this means that, yeah, sure, it is true that women are more emotional than men, but it also means that it was true 500 years ago that the earth was flat and kids can consent to sex. So I think that maybe we should reject the logic that just because a lot of people believe something, it's therefore true, thereby bringing you back to step one of either refuting a single one of my 15 arguments I gave you to demonstrate that your claim is false, or giving any supporting evidence for your claim.
I'm confused. How does kids getting, you know, things done to them have anything to do with that? That just makes.
All right, bro, caveman Dean mode.
I'm not even. No, I'm not. I'm genuinely like. I just don't see it.
Caveman Dean mode. You say women more emotional than men because it's normal to believe women more emotional than men. 500 years ago, it's normal to believe kids can consent to sex.
But that's
Therefore,
kids. Kids though.
according to your logic, because it was normal to believe kids can consent to sex, therefore kids could consent to sex. Conclusion that kids could consent to sex, obviously false. Therefore, premise that something true if it normal to believe, also false. And if premise something true if it normal to believe false, then your argument, it true women emotional more so than men because it